Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And how can I put it? On last, much to follow. What I'd like to cover today is, entrepreneurism in Cornwall, why it's there, historic entrepreneurs, what they've achieved, what has linked them together, and the different types of entrepreneur that I believe there are in the world. And then looking at today and tomorrow, the entrepreneurs that are making a difference and how perhaps we can all make a difference. So if I may kick off then. Entrepreneurs, is it all about money and risk? Why do I put that slide up? Well, the Cambridge English definition of an entrepreneur, a person who attempts to make a profit by starting a company or operating alone in the business world, especially when it involves taking risks. I think that's too narrow, as I'll go on to explain. Entrepreneurism itself is commonly attributed to an economist, Joseph Schumpeter. He was finance minister of Austria for a short time in 1919 before moving to the United States and eventually becoming professor of economics at Harvard University. He wrote a book called Capitalism, Socialism and Democracy, where he advocated a thing called creative destruction, and creative destruction as a basis for entrepreneurism. In that, he advocated in creative destruction, it's a process where current processes are replaced by new processes, and in doing so, create wealth. Or as I'd like to put it, out with the old, in with the new. You'll find I'm a very simple type of person, and I like to condense things down into very simple things. So out with the old, in with the new. The aeroplane has replaced the steamship. The internal combustion engine car has replaced the horse and cart. The internal combustion engine car is being replaced by electric vehicles. Sat-navs have replaced maps and compass. Or is that compasses? I never did know. You can make all the different examples yourself, but the old replaces the new, and in doing so creates wealth. But I think that entrepreneurs are other things. They are innovators, creative thinkers, definitely creative destructors. Even within a deal talking about the changes she wishes to make. That's actually creative destruction because you're changing. You're attempting to change the fundamental basis of the injustice of the education system in the medical world. And absolutely all power to you. They're also visionaries, leaders, but often perceived as being obstinate and unreasonable. And I'm looking to a few entrepreneurs out there because I bet you have been perceived as obstinate and unreasonable. And if you think about it, the great changes of the world from Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and the fellow on the left here, does anybody want to identify who he is? No? Okay. That's actually Claude Monet. And Claude Monet overcame his visual disability to create some of the most beautiful art in the history of mankind and start a new art movement. All for doing what? Probably painting what he actually saw. So, if you want to wrap up all of that in a nutshell, it really comes down to a quote that George Bernard Shaw gave, which was, a reasonable man adapts himself to his surroundings. An unreasonable man adapts surroundings to himself. And all progress is made through unreasonable men. A thought I'd like you to keep. So, what do I think of the different types of entrepreneurs out there? We have our business entrepreneurs. We've heard from some of them today. There are thousands of business entrepreneurs out there in Cornwall alone. I'll come back to some of them in terms of the entrepreneurs of today and the fantastic things they're doing in just a second. But I also think there are things like scientific entrepreneurs. We don't need to look any further than Sir Humphrey Davy. Born just outside of Penzance, went to school in Penzance, was then apprenticed to an apothecary and surgeon here in Truro. And yes, he invented the safety lamp in mines, and that's what everybody remembers him for. Many people don't remember him for discovering more elements of the periodic table than any other man from these isles, or woman from these isles. So, he discovered sodium, potassium, magnesium, boron, strontium, calcium, chlorine and iodine using electricity, believe it or not. He was also an early advocate for different types of anaesthetics in the surgical world. But never mind, let's remember him for the miner's lamp, shall we? The boy from Penzance did good. There are also other types of entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and artistic entrepreneurs. If you look at artistic entrepreneurs, and this is not an advert for the Minack Theatre, but Rowan Cade there, I mean, to have the vision to be able to create a most beautiful arts theatre. This one's great, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite the same sort of setting as the Minack Theatre. A piece of art in itself in order to generate art and create a different experience in the artistic world. If we look at social entrepreneurs, I will forever be in awe of every single organiser of a food bank anywhere in the country, but particularly in Cornwall. This Cornwall itself, at one point, and it's not far off it still, was the second most deprived area in the whole of Europe. And we are still pretty well, we're not getting there yet, as Joe was talking in his intervention earlier. Every single community interest company in Cornwall, I have found 139 different community interest companies. And as we all know, those community interest companies have been set up not to make a profit, but to make a difference in society. There's 139 of them in Cornwall, and I take my hat off to every single member of those fantastic organisations. Let's also not forget the law-making entrepreneurs as well, because every single law that's passed in this country is designed to do something, to create a change. And if we look at some of the changes that have been created in the last few years even, we will all have known in our lifetimes and in the last few years that a tax was introduced on the amount of sugar in fizzy drinks. And now as a result, non-sugar, zero sugar, diet fizzy drinks now outsell the fizzy alternatives by nearly 2 to 1. It made a difference in society. And we shouldn't forget the importance of lawmaking. I'm sure if we could make some laws that said actually medical training should include everything that Deal was talking about, then actually the world would be a better place much quicker. So, what connects these entrepreneurs? As I say, I'm a very simple kind of guy. And so when I look at what connects all these different entrepreneurs, why are they successful at what they do? What is it that's that thread that links them all together? I believe it's 5 little words in a question. And I believe those 5 little words, and the question is this: wouldn't it be good if? They ask themselves that question, wouldn't it be good if? Wouldn't it be good if we had a safety lamp to provide light underground that's not actually going to cause explosions and all that kind of stuff? Probably is the question that went through Sir Humphrey Davy's mind. And many other entrepreneurs, in some form or another, will be asking themselves that question, wouldn't it be good if? In my opinion. It is a question of dreams. And I shall return to that theme of dreams in just a couple of minutes. But to look at entrepreneurs of today, wouldn't it be good if we could basically have all the energy that we require in Cornwall from the Cornish landscape? And the reality is that 40% of that is already, 40% of the energy we use is already being generated through a variety of different ways. You've seen all the wind, farms there are in Cornwall. You see the solar farms there are in Cornwall. Not many people know that there's actually geothermal. There's 2 geothermal sites in Cornwall as well, and also there's a biomethane development that's occurring as well. All of these different ways of creating energy from our landscape, both on the land and at sea. because we only have so much land, and land needs to be used to produce, yes, energy, but also food. And there's that great competition occurring right as we speak around that usage at the moment. So, for instance, if you had some land and you were a farmer, you could turn it over to energy production and achieve about £1,000 per hectare. Producing food, you'll generate about £400 per hectare. If you're a farmer, particularly if you're getting on a bit and you need a pension, what are you going to do? But at the same time, we still need food. We still need local food, as Fatma was saying earlier on, because we need to do that in order to have better outcomes for society. So, wouldn't it be good if we could exploit the mineral wealth that there is beneath Cornwall? There are many, many studies showing how much lithium, and we all know about the lithium projects in Cornwall, or do we? Incredibly, and I do mean this incredibly because I don't actually believe the figure, some people are saying they're up to 100 million tonnes of lithium in Cornwall, and I just don't believe it. If it was 15 million tonnes, I would believe it, because that to me is a credible number. What we do know is that the two major lithium entrepreneurial companies believe that they'll be able to generate 30,000 tonnes of lithium, which will support about 500,000 cars every year in a couple of years' time. 30,000 tonnes doesn't sound like a lot, but in 2022, there was only 122,000 tonnes of lithium actually mined in the entire world. So Cornwall has the opportunity to be a great powerhouse for minerals once again, just in the days of gold with the Romans, or tin in the Industrial Revolution. And that development is actually being done. If you look at one of those companies, it's being run by an entrepreneur who went to the Camborne School of Mines, became an investment banker, is no longer an investment banker, returned to Cornwall, and he's developing lithium mining. It's also fascinating to know that one of those geothermal plants down at United Downs, the waste product of the geothermal energy production is water that is enriched with lithium. I mean, imagine that. Your waste product is a rare earth metal. It doesn't get better in terms of your waste product's going to make you money. Great, great things. So, wouldn't it be good if? 2005, the Food Standards Agency introduced a thing called the nutritional model for food. And basically, this nutritional model says that depending upon the composition of that food, if it scores less than 4, it's healthier for you than if it scores 30 or 40. And you might all recognise this as the so-called high-fat, high-salt, high-sugar legislation coming in about where you can sell and position these products in supermarkets and advertise online, and junk food ban. They're all talking about basically this nutritional model. So, it was created to tackle obesity, particularly in children. So wouldn't it be good if we could contribute here in Cornwall to providing better health outcomes by using that model? There is at least one food company already in Cornwall that is producing foods that are scoring less than 4, and therefore are deemed to be healthier. And that's a bakery company. So if they can do it, everybody else can. So then, wouldn't it be good if? I shan't disappoint you. This is the last slide. Before I finish, though, I said that I'd return to wouldn't it be good if as a theme of dreams. And I'd like to return to that theme of dreams now. Because dreams are something that T.E. Lawrence wrote about in his book, The 7 Pillars of Wisdom. And in the 7 Pillars of Wisdom, of dreams, Lawrence wrote thus: all men dream, but not equally. Most men dream in the darkest recesses of the night, and by dawn their dreams are but dust. Other men dream in the daytime. Fear them because they have the passion and the wherewithal to make their dreams real. So I'd like to wish each and every one of you who dares to dream in the daytime every success in your entrepreneurial journey. Thank you very much for listening.